Well, I am pinch hitting for Tom Tillis. I know he sends his regrets. He wished he was here. He had a family issue he had to deal with back in North Carolina. But I'm very pleased to be here. Just by way of brief background, before I came to Congress, I've been up on Capitol Hill now 14 years, one term in the House, and it'll be 12 years in the U.S. Senate. My training was in chemical engineering. I worked for 28 years in the private sector before coming up to Washington, just like Tom Tillis. Tom and I had similar backgrounds, and Senator Tillis and I are very close friends, and both of us were elected to the Senate back in 2014. But I worked for Procter & Gamble for 13 years, and 6 of those years I was based in China. I used to get to India occasionally, but we moved our family to Guangzhou. The reason I want to share with you that brief story, because I think it ties right into the importance of India as I think about the geopolitical priorities for the United States. John Chambers is a very dear friend of mine. Many of you know John. He's been very active in the U.S.-India Strategic Partnership Initiative. In fact, I was on the phone with John just this weekend talking about India, believe it or not. But when I go to India versus when I go to China, let me just give you a stunning contrast. I was in Beijing 2 weeks ago. I led a bipartisan group of senators to Shanghai and Beijing. The week before, President Trump and the team were with Xi Jinping, the premier. We met with the premier, we met with Wang Yi, their foreign minister. It was a historic summit with senators prior to the president being there. But when I go to China, this phone stays on my desk in Washington. When I go to India, this phone goes with me. In fact, I was there in January. I was Ambassador Sergio Gore's very first congressional delegation. My wife and I went there just a couple of weeks after Sergio had made to his post. In fact, we stayed with him in his residence. But I told the Indian government, we had a meeting with Dr. Jay, with Minister Goyal. The Prime Minister was out at that time. But I said, you've got a really special ambassador here because he's excited about India. If you've talked to Sergio at all, he loves being there. He sees all the opportunities there. And he's also a half a phone call away from President Trump. That's what you want from an ambassador. Access to the president and passion for the country. And that's Sergio. But on the trust pieces, I emphasize that to my Indian friends. When I was over there in January, we were in a bit of a little friction. That's being, I think, probably gracious about terms as being more of a diplomat here today. And I heard directly from our Indian partners and friends, both at the government level and in the business community, about this impasse that we had. And we worked it diligently. I came back to Washington, and 2 weeks later, President Trump, Prime Minister Modi came together and said, it's 18% and let's move forward. That was a very important step in the relationship. We didn't need this kind of friction, in my opinion, with one of the geopolitically most important relations we have, and that's between the United States and India. George Shultz has a famous line on trust. George Shultz once said, when trust was in the room, good things happened. When trust was not in the room, good things did not happen. Everything else is details. The coin of the realm is trust. And that's what we must continue to work, and in some cases restore with some of these important allies. Lastly, let me say this. Why do I think about the importance of India? For a lot of reasons. I'll tell you, as an Indian doctor that saved my father's life at MD Anderson, some of our very best minds are here in the United States in the healthcare profession. So I'm just grateful for that personally. When I step back and look at the GDP of India, where we're at, I know it depends a little bit on currency devaluation and so forth, but you can argue where it's ranked right now, but I would say between 3rd and 6th, but it's right there behind the United States and China, and it's growing. Number 2, it's the only population in the world, being the largest population, the largest democracy in the world, that with partnership with the United States, we can put together a STEM ecosystem in terms of just sheer human capital that can rival the size of the STEM ecosystem in China. And that's really important. So I want to thank you for what you're doing. I love the country of India and the people especially. The food's great as well. And I will tell you, it's not my last trip to India. I used to go there a lot with Procter & Gamble, and I see it as very, very important for the United States. And I'm thankful for what you're doing here to promote that friendship between the two countries. So thank you for allowing me to be here.